Alright, time to start framing up the floor here. I want to get an edge around all the sides that don't have an edge, so I can put down panels and mount the flooring. Got some gaps to fill, and I'm going to frame as much as I can with this old hoist I made. Kind of wanted to keep that, but I don't have room to store it, and it's real easy to remake. It's just 3 bars welded together with some legs or some feet. And this top bar is made out of 2 sections, and it's not the straightest, so I'll remake this later. But this is a 1.5 inch square bar. It's about 1/8 inch thick. So 1.5 inch is going to be too tall. In most places it actually work out right here, but you know, on this side we're about a 1.5 inch. Over here we're at 1 3/8 inch. And yeah, this U channel, it's crooked. Some's higher than the others. That's 1 3/8. It seems like most of it's 1 3/8, but that's, you know, 1.5 inch on one side. That's 1 1/4 inch. It's all over the place, so I'm just gonna stick to 1 1/4 inch. That'll make it a little tall, you know, in some areas, and a little short in others, but it's in the middle of where I need to be. So and we already have, like, this piece of channel is really crooked and sticks up by like an 1/8 inch on the far side of it, so nothing's really level anyway. I'm just gonna get as close as I can, and 1 1/4 inch gets me right in the middle of where I need to be. Sitting too level, I got pinched. Found me some 1 1/4 inch flat bar, so I could just put this on here instead of trying to mark with a measure tape. Like that. Kind of thinking I should just go get me some 1 1/4 inch channel. Save a lot of time. But we'll try this piece. Let's see what I think. That without it moving. All right. the heat from the grinder, or is that just the tension it was under? Alright, that works out pretty good. Gonna need to cut some holes for these bolts so I can access those in the future. So 1, 2 pieces. Alright, got all the bigger pieces cut. For these smaller areas, I'm just gonna put in a couple chunks of scrap. Get a little piece there. Need to trim it up. I'll come in and make some marks because it needs to go around that part. So I need to cut a little bit of an angle off the back side of that. That same thing, we need to cut a little bit to get around that piece. Backside's good on that. This side we'll need to cut a couple holes for the bolts so I can get a wrench in there. Might not be able to take the bolts out, but I don't think I will have to. Gonna be a real gonna be a slim chance I even take out that transmission support anyway, so I'm not too worried about it, but I do want to be able to take these bolts out. You can see we got some holes cut over here, and that is enough to get a wrench in there. I might just cut a slot on the back side and then bang that down and then re-weld it. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. It's so freaking crooked. So yeah, I like what I'm seeing here. This will bring everything up to that level, which is that level all the way around. Also, the camera's got a crack in the lens, and I gotta replace that. It's a bad crack too. It's making a little reflection off to the side. So let's go inside and do that real quick. Alright, everything's tacked into place. Nice and secure. And now I can start running some cross beams. Drew up a little sketch, went and took some measurements, numbered the pieces I'm going to cut on the diagram. I also numbered the frame so I can just cut a whole bunch of pieces all at once and then carry them over to weld them in and not have to go back and forth a whole bunch of times. So Didn't think I was going to add any extra framing over here on this side, since I had 3 of these beefy cross members over there and only 2 over here, so I thought I was just reinforcing this side and down the middle. But these gaps are kind of big, especially this one where the propane tank used to be, so I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more pieces of frame right there for the floor. Alright, got back from town, placed an order for $550 worth of steel. This is the first part of my order. Got some angle iron, and then got 3 4x8 sheets of 16 gauge cold rolled, coming in about a week. So we got some small stuff here to reinforce the areas that are a little too large for my liking. I don't want this sagging too much. These areas will probably be fine, but I do definitely want to run some extra support down the center. So that's what the smaller 1/2 inch angle iron is for. It's 1/8 inch thick. And then we got the larger 1.5 inch by 1/8 inch thick angle. I already got 2 pieces off of here stacked up, so there's 2 pieces more to this pile. But there we are, a bunch of steel. I do believe it is time to get out the old stick welder here. It's been a while, so this will be fun to get back into this a little bit, re-hone my skills. And I'm going to use that to stitch weld, or finish stitch welding the framework here. Most places just has a tack, some is stitched, but I'm gonna widen things out a little bit. I don't need to weld the whole thing. The bottom part on these square tubes at the far end are not welded at the bottom, so as a way to drain out water if it gets in there. And I didn't think that was too necessary, welding all the way around. Got the top and the sides, that should be plenty secure enough. I did go around and get these all welded up good, especially ones like this one, which were not welded on the back side, only welded on the sides. Or not welded on the top side, I should say. Sides are welded, top was not welded, so I finished that. That was a pretty big gap, so I put some scraps in there. This was a thin gap, so that didn't need too much, just a little welding there. And I filled in these gaps just to put some support along the top. I don't know how necessary that was, but I like the idea of having all the, there's holes cut out for propane tubing to go through, piping, wiring, but it's, it's still all one piece along the top, so it just makes me feel like it has a little more rigidity that way. There's a cut or a gap right here, and I got welded. Kind of like to cut off the exhaust hangers and get that straight, because from the factory that was pretty crooked. My stuff is straight. That's pretty solid in there, so I'm not really too worried about it. That doesn't need to be straight, it's just there for hanging the exhaust pipe. Got some E6013 3/32. gonna try welding at 80 amps. Might need to go down to 60, but let's go and see what 80 is like. This is any angle or all angle. Oh boy, that is weird. Doing all that welding with the wire feed and then switching over to stick. But I like it. I like the stick. It's a little more challenging. Pretty good. Yeah, that works awesome for gap filling. Yeah, I just don't want to deal with all that slag cleanup. I feel a little spoiled from the wire feed. It just comes out so nice. So yeah, we'll get out the wire feed and finish this. Alright, all the framing is welded up. Seams are filled. Everything's stitched. Okay, I missed a spot. Now everything is stitched. A little more than stitched in some areas. Got some gaps here on the back side to fill in where the original framework got dented up. So I'm going to do a little more stick welding. Ugh. A little tar on the seam sealer. GoPro, stop recording. Okay, that was some good practice. Some of these turned out really good. Especially this one. Got pretty bogged up down here. Probably fine, but that's gonna bug me if I don't take a grinder to it. So right before painting, I will smooth that out with the grinder. But I'm not too worried about it. Oof. That was my fuel line. Let's be careful with that. Took a few more measurements to cut some angle iron.
right, got a bunch of angle welded in along the edges. So the sheets, steel sheets, have a place to rest and get welded. I could have cut notches in them, but I didn't want to go into, you know, like this is an opening for a door. So I like the idea of having the sheets set back a little bit. Plus this will reinforce things down here at the bottom and close up the holes slightly so things don't sag when I have heavy holding tanks full of fluids. All the way around, we've got an edge that we can weld to. So all I need to do is just drop in some sheets. Actually, first I need to go through and grind some welds flat. Need to fill in some holes, although some of these I'll probably leave for drains just in case there's a leak. Holy moly, that was a bit more work than I was thinking it was gonna be, but oh boy, that's looking good. I'm happy with that. I have picked up the sheets. I picked up 3 4x8 16 gauge cold rolled, but I'm gonna save that for next video because this has been dragging on way too long. I need to get a video made, get the video editing process started. Got some American steel here. I came on a pallet this time. Found a shop that does a lot better job with their prices and helpfulness. So yeah, we'll include that in the next video. Because it has been far too long since I've uploaded, so I'm gonna cut it off here. And get that made. I like it. And those 3 sheets are the last. That'll be the last steel I need. I'll still have to go get some lumber and stuff for the upper floor here. I do have a bunch more angle to continue on this edge. From right here, continue that around, and then I can drop in something. I'm thinking I'll just do like 2x6s or 2x8s, or I don't know, maybe they even do 2x12s. I'll need to do some reinforcing down the middle so they don't sag. But I'll deal with all that once the flooring is in, the sheeting. And I can start building up whatever I need to. I'll put the tanks in here, figure out where they're gonna go, how I'm gonna drain them. I'm gonna need to cut a hole for a drain. And I'm also going to do a panel right here, a raised panel. I'd like to be able to access this in the future. I could pretty much get to everything from down below, but I feel like there might be a reason to have upper access to the transmission. So I'm gonna weld sheets all the way up to here, and I'll do like a bolt-on panel or something, and slightly raised so I can clear the parking brake there. Bunch more coming up. Stay tuned, everybody. Thank you for hanging in there and dealing with the delays. Got really slow this month, and that's not good. So, back on track, I think. Well, hard part's done. Just gotta slap in some sheets. Get the tanks in. Get the doors in. I need to fix a warped door. See you in the next video.